Hey everybody, this is Darren Van Dam, and you are watching Flick Connection, the show that helps you get more out of movies. And today I'm going to tell you all about the new Netflix original movie, The Dirt. Based on a book by the same name, The Dirt is a biopic of Motley Crue, the band that created the best strip club music of all time. And the book was actually written by all of the original members of the band and is apparently fairly true to life. The movie is definitely going to appeal to fans of the band, and also I will say people that like the movie The Wolf of Wall Street. If you thought The Wolf of Wall Street was a little bit too much for you, the first 2 or 3 minutes of The Dirt is going to be too much for you. This is a gnarly movie. It is very raw at times. I had a good time watching it. I thought it was a fun movie. It does get a little heavy. We'll get to that in a minute, but it's really fun to watch, particularly in the beginning. But again, I'm not sure that this movie could have earned an R rating if it were to have come out in theaters without maybe some minor edits. There are a couple of things I'd never seen in a rated R movie before, and I'm surprised they're on Netflix, but and again, I'll get to this in a minute. I think this is sort of where the future of movies is going to be taking us. So this movie is about sex, drugs, rock and roll. The movie is full of graphic sex, lots of hard drugs, and I want to say rock and roll comes last. There's a fair amount, but the movie is not so much about the music. Particularly once you get to the midpoint, it really then starts to become about the consequences of this excessive lifestyle. So that's where it's sort of similar to The Wolf of Wall Street, where that movie also was very fun and wild and crazy for the first half, and then it really sort of tightened down and became about the consequences of that type of behavior. The Dirt does the same thing. It's very introspective in that regard, and I enjoyed that. Now, what I will say is this movie's got a huge cast, and I thought it was pretty well cast. The lead actor that plays Nikki Sixx, the movie's sort of narrated by him. He's one of the most important characters in the movie. He's a very good actor, but I think he didn't feel that well developed. Whereas you've got, a famous, rapper, rock star with Machine Gun Kelly, who plays Tommy Lee. You can tell that he's acting at times, but he did a great job in the sense that he was entertaining throughout, and he is a decent actor. He did a good job for most of the movie. There was just some times where you can kind of go, wow, he needs to hone his craft a little bit because he maintains this entertainment level. He did great. The guy that plays Mick Mars is from Game of Thrones. You'll notice him. You'll recognize him from that the most, I think. He did a great job. The actor that plays Vince Neil did a really great job in the sense that he was this wild character at times, but then also had to play some of these really sort of fragile and tender moments. He did a good job as well. And speaking of fragile and tender moments with that character, with the Vince Neil character, the little girl that played his daughter, she's not on screen much, but she did a really good job. So much so that I was actually surprised. This movie almost had me bawling like a baby with the scenes with Vince Neil with his daughter in the hospital.
I'm in a glass case of emotion!
So this movie is somewhat of a roller coaster ride in the sense that you get there's so much going on in it, and I thought it all fit together pretty well. I was a little skeptical as to how they were going to make this epic rock and roll story work in a 2-hour movie, and I think they did a good job. By they, Jeff Tremaine is the director, and he's most known for directing the Jackass series and the movies, and this is his first, big movie like this, and I thought he did a good job. Now, he is in no way like a visionary director. By that, I mean he borrows a lot. There's a lot of vibes and stuff I was getting from this. Things, he borrowed from things like Dazed and Confused and other movies you're going to recognize. But every decision he made was very appropriate for the story that he was telling. So in that sense, he's a good director. I think we're going to see more good movies come out of him. He's not going to be the type of director to just create something completely new and visionary, but that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, like I said, halfway through, it does really stop being about the music and it starts being about all the turmoil. There's a major car accident that really sort of kicks that chapter of the movie off. And then the Nikki Sixx heroin addiction was huge. And this stood out to me, not just in the movie, but from the VH1 Behind the Music as a really horrific story of heroin addiction. So much so that it has made an impression on me. I mean, I saw that Behind the Music almost 20 years ago, and I still remember that as an example of what can happen to you on heroin. And the movie, from my recollection, captured it exactly. And from what I understand, the movie did that in a lot of ways. In fact, all the original band members were producers on the film. The movie was so accurate that even when they met their manager, I think they just didn't make sense movie-wise to include the scene at the place where they met the manager. So the manager was just at one of their parties. They even like hit the brakes on the movie and explained to you that this is not how it happened and that they were completely omitting a major player from the movie because everything else was so true. They're like, hey, this right here is made up, and it worked. It didn't really stop the movie. It kept the energy going, and that was sort of the big thing I got with this movie, is that it had a good energy to it and it kept moving. Now, I am not a big fan of Motley Crue, but even when you listen to something like Kickstart My Heart, if that doesn't kind of get your blood pumping at least a little bit, congratulations, you are an android. The sad news is you'll never really feel feelings, but you'll never die either. So, you know, that's cool. And obviously the movie has a good soundtrack. I mean, there are a lot of Motley Crue tracks, but even the non-Motley Crue tracks that they picked, I thought were all good choices. It's, you know, just like I mentioned in my Triple Frontier review, that movie had a great soundtrack. This one does as well. Netflix is killing it. I think this is going to be the future of movies in the sense that we have great movies in the theater. We've got the choices of VOD on streaming, things that go straight to streaming that are good. And then we've got sort of these straight to Netflix or straight to whatever platform, these original movies that were not great for like the first year that Netflix was running them. There were some hits and a lot of misses. They're starting to churn out hits a little bit more. I think this one is a hit. Not my favorite one that they've ever done, but again, I think fans of the band are really going to love this movie, and I think fans of the sort of like rock and roll excess type of biopics are going to like this one as well. If you're not into any of that, this movie's probably not really going to be for you. I'll be surprised if there's anything for you to really latch on to. That said, watching this movie was way better than my last experience with Motley Crue, which, just fair warning, if you're ever in Las Vegas, do not eat at Vince Neil's Mexican restaurant and then get on a cross-country flight. The air in those airplane bathrooms gets stale real fucking quick. That said, I hope you like this review. I will keep making reviews like this as long as you keep watching them. Thanks for checking this one out, and you will see me on the next one. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do so a number of ways. You can become a Patreon supporter like one of these fine people. You can shop on Amazon using my Amazon link, Teespring store, all of that into the description. But of course, likes, comments, and subscribes are always appreciated. If you're new to the channel and you found it from this review, I give 10 to 20 Netflix recommendations in one video every single week. So be sure to subscribe if you want constant Netflix recommendations. But I'm also going to be reviewing Netflix originals just like this one.